Oh dear. Have no fear. Dan and Zach are here.
Hey, hold on. Can we play that music again? I was getting into it, man.
Oh, now you get into it. See, welcome back, people. PowerHouse Finch Show. Zach Shue,
Dan Turbyville.
Dan Turbyville.
No fear. Zach and Dan are here.
I don't know. I was trying to come up with something that rhymes. Is the best I had on the spot.
There you go. That's
I
good.
don't rehearse these things.
That's good, man.
Just from the hip, baby. So
yeah, I like it. So welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you all. This show is brought to you by Memphis Fence Company, MFC Manufacturing, Simpalo, Thornton Fence Consulting Group.
Yeah. So I saw that they added a new Super Summit in their schedule for the year.
Super Summit.
Yeah. In Schenectady, New York.
Cool.
In August.
That's a cool place.
So
I signed up to go.
Did you?
For content, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's cool. So all the if you're up there in the Northeast, you can check that out. There should be a link in the description to the show to his event schedule, calendar. And so you can check out all the things. We're definitely going to the Fence Business Conference in December. So I went to it last year. It was awesome. Going again this year. It's a great time of year because you're pretty slow. In December, things are kind of slowed down a little bit. So it's awesome. And there was a ton of people there and everything.
All right. We're Dan. We're Zach. We're back. Yeah. We are live. We are effectively live. There's a number scrolling across the bottom of the screen for those of you who are able to watch currently. That number is 901-878-4987. For those who are listening, again, 901-878-4987. Give us a call. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we'd like to chat. And so this week,
who do we have this week?
Hold on, what's his name? Oh, Danny Wheeler, I believe. That's Mr. Danny Wheeler.
Welcome, Danny Wheeler, everyone. Welcome, Danny Wheeler.
Well, I thank you guys.
What's happening, man?
Did you ask him not to call you that? Is that why he's calling you that?
No, I asked him. I'm like, Dan, do you go by Danny or do you dislike that? And he said, I dislike that very much. So on my phone, I have him as Danny T. And then all day, I'm like, how can I do an intro here with you guys? So I was thinking like Danny T and Zachary or something like that, but I'm not real creative. Yeah, I have him in my phone as Danny T with his big like Trump standing on the what is
standing
that?
on the tank?
The tank, yeah.
Abrams. There we go. That's a tank name, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So actually,
not just on a tank with an eagle and like a jet fighter and machine guns.
Yeah, and like a rifle, all kinds of stuff.
A Starbucks.
So I sponsored our banker, Kirk. He was on the show last year, and he's always coached like basketball teams for his kids at school. And so he asked me to sponsor. And so I got the full page sponsor, and he's like, all right, what do you want it to be? And I was like, oh, I get to pick what I want. And so that picture that you're talking about was my full page sponsorship in the sports book. So I was like, well, everybody else is just like going to put their logo in there. I'm going to put something crazy.
Cool. For those who don't know, Dan Wheeler, you have a podcast, right? What's the name of your podcast again?
The Fence Industry Podcast.
The Fence Industry Podcast.
The Fence Industry Podcast.
Yeah.
How about that?
I've listened to I have listened to a few episodes. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah. It's hard, man. It's hard. There's a lot of them out there.
There is.
So welcome to the show, man. I know you got a lot of attention in the podcast industry and been doing it for a while.
The first
3 years I'm in now.
3 years. And the first Fence podcast.
Yeah, the originator, not the imitator, is what I say about that.
Well, what a privilege and honor to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you. It's awesome to be on your guys' show. You're so professional. You know, you got the Google Doc, you got the background, you got the cameras, you have a producer. And when I do mine, it's just like so hodgepodge. But one day I'll get to your guys' level.
Brian says double D in the house.
That's right. Don't forget about Zach.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't mind.
DDZ? DDs? I don't know. Anyways. Yeah, no, man, it's pretty cool. We have I'm happy with our little setup we got. And I don't know. I know when I was on your show, you had like a notepad and you just kind of like jotted some notes down, and I
Mhm.
all this crazy nerding out thing and make this whole agenda and all that. But it works for us, man. It works for us.
Whatever works, man. I'm just like that. I just like go off the hip. So I take like 4 notes and then I do a little research on you. I Google you a little bit and then we go from there. So I didn't find nothing, Dan. Nothing.
Good, good.
So
So, you've been reading, listening to anything exciting lately?
Mostly listening, not so much reading.
Yeah.
Well, I'm reading too, but just basically daily excerpts. I talked about that before. You might be interested in this one. I haven't talked to you about any. It's called So a Man Thinketh. It's a dude named Thomas Merton. It's like a priest, Catholic priest, I guess. It's kind of like daily wisdom from this Catholic priest. So I've been doing like daily morning readings with that, which is pretty cool. And then this like recovery thing called Stumbling in the Dark.
Yeah. So,
and it's also kind of like a daily thing to just kind of get in that mode in the morning. I like to do that and then spend about 5 is pretty normal. 10 is kind of a stretch to say I do 10 minutes daily, but about 5 to 10 minutes and just like complete stillness.
Yeah.
And that's how I get started.
Yeah. So that's like I know I told you about what was it? The show that I listened to, and it was the guy that had conquered the 3 poles.
Right.
And so that was one of the things he talked about was just like finding silence. And he said, you don't have to be like out in the wilderness or on Everest or whatever to find silence. He's like, you can find silence while you're doing the dishes or like doing something. So it reminds me of that.
What about you, man? What have you been listening to?
Dude, you guys are way above my level. I listen to Joe Rogan,
Nice.
There you
That's
go.
cool, man.
But no, I get what you're saying, man. I get in my zone. I prefer to do my own thing, work alone. That's when I do my best thinking. And people think I have my shit together. I probably don't, but I can figure it out, when I have my alone time, and that's when I can focus on me and my plan and my goals. And I guess that's I can be doing anything, working, digging a hole, right, hanging a gate, anything. But if I'm alone, I can do it.
Sure.
Muscle memory for me. The doing aspect is the easy part. That's just do with my eyes closed. But that's when I do my focusing.
Yeah,
sure. I feel that, man. We were talking before the show about how I went out and dug some holes Monday morning, and all day Monday actually. And this was probably one of the first hot days we've had. But in that, I was like, man, I felt that was the greatest day I've had this week. I didn't think about anything. The stress of bidding and thinking about managing people and deadlines and all that went right out the window.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's
good. I worked from home the other day, and so I just got to go in my little office at home and sit at my computer, and it was like nobody around. It was great. I was like, man, I need to do that like at least every week. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Brian says he listens to his wife. That's a good point.
Yeah.
He must be in trouble right now.
Yeah, right. Well, he hadn't commented and said how great she is yet, so he can't be in too much trouble.
He's probably telling her, hey, look, I gave you a shout out right here on the PowerHouse show. So
So as usual, everybody would like to extend to you the request of what you'd like to hear from us, what you like about the show, don't like about the show. I mean, it's amazing how negative criticism can really get me fired up for doing the shows.
Any kind of feedback really is cool.
Yeah, sincerely, we love to hear what you guys think, or just would like to talk about, or guest we'd like to have, or if you want to be a guest.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, we're always willing to listen and try to do our best to accommodate.
Dan, where are you going? You got any events coming up that you're going to?
My next event is a West Coast show, I believe. I usually stay home, during the season because I'm in the field like right now. But then I think the West Coast show kicks it off for me for sure. But yeah, then I think the fall is pretty packed. So I'm excited.
Our West Coast show, September 5th through the 7th. We'll be there also. We are in booths. We were in booth 516, 518. You got a booth, or you just...
I'll be floating around. I'm just, like, hey, can I set up shop here at someone's booth? Usually they're pretty okay with it. So that's usually how I roll. I don't have a game plan for nothing, guys. Like
cool.
Dan said with my notes, like when I went to Boston and visited Matt, I'm like, hey, dude, I fly in here. I don't know how I'm going to get to your place. And I didn't know where I was staying. I ended up staying at Anthony's house. Like, I don't have plans unless my wife does it for me. So, but yeah, that's how I'll pick a booth and like, hey, let me set up shop. And they're usually pretty cool. So,
You know, it's funny because the other day when we were going to Tunica, so we went to the Memphis Tri-State Fence Association golf tournament this past weekend. We just went down Friday night and hung out for a bit and left. But when we were going down there, Zach's like, what's the plan? What are we going to do? Like, where are we going? What time are we leaving? All of this stuff. And I was like, I don't know. Like, we'll just wing it, you know? And so anytime we go on trips or anything, that's exactly how I am. I just am a wing it kind of dude. Like my wife and I have left to go on vacation. Don't even know where we're going. We just like get in the car and start driving east, and we're like, we'll just go wherever we feel like going, and just kind of like book a hotel on the road and go stay somewhere.
yeah.
But some things I'm like that, and some things I'd like to be decently organized. So I don't know. Well, we'll be there. I mean, you know, just falling right in line with that whole statement I just made. We have no idea what we're taking or anything else. I doubt we're going to take the big booth.
No, that thing's it's pretty expensive to ship.
What was it, like 3,000 pounds?
It was like
2,200,
and I thought it was about 1,200.
Yeah.
I grossly underestimated.
Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if you saw our booth that we had at Fence Tag, but Zach and Logan, man, they built this giant thing. It like unfolds and it's a big wall in the back and all that. And we have a table on it that we can set up and like do our podcast, this deal from the top of that table in our booth. And so it's pretty cool, but like, man, to ship it and then just to take it from the trailer over to the booth and set it in place and all, I mean, it's just crazy expensive. So anyways, doubt that will be at the West Coast show, but we'll definitely have something there. And
you see one of those like backdrops, like one of those stretchable ones you can just pack in a bag and unstretching, call it a day.
Well, that's why we have these. Actually, that's what those were bought initially to be our backdrop at some trade show somewhere. And
we used these for the first time in Vegas.
Yeah,
at the FWA show in Vegas last year.
Yeah. And then we stuck them on the wall here and kind of used it as our backdrop. So they work pretty good. And it's just like what you're talking about. You can just stick them in a bag and you just hang them up.
Yeah.
So we've been throwing this idea out there. Let's get Dan's opinion, Dan Wheeler's opinion on this. Yeah. What do you think about a approximate 4-week series of how to read plan sets, including specs? Would you be interested in that? Do you think that would be good content?
Well, I think in the fence world, education and ongoing training is the hottest topic right now, hands down. So if you can get that audience and get them tuned in 100%, I think that's something, and then especially if you record it, right, then it lives out there forever. So I 100% think if those people are out there, I think there's probably a need for it. And like I said, man, the education side right now is just popping. So
Brian says he'll help push it. Great idea.
Cool.
He also said that he loves how much we do on commercial bidding here on the show. But
and I value those guys' opinions. So I think those are 2 solid yeses that I would say is a good yes.
I agree. So we've been talking about doing it. I think it would be probably like a Zoom, Zoom or Teams, or I don't know, maybe a webinar here on StreamYard, but I definitely want it to be something where there can be like interaction with people that, you know, other than just leaving comments. Like I want people to be able to talk and ask questions and all that kind of stuff. So it wouldn't be like in place of this show. Maybe I don't know if it would be worth re-airing again in our time slots, but anyways, like I said, maybe like a Zoom or something like that. And I think it would be cool. I think it would be good. There seems to be a need for it out there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm not the best at anything, but I've done some of this stuff for a while, so I could at least share what I know.
I think you guys are more you have more knowledge than what you think, because I don't think a lot of people are talking about it, right? This is like your bread and butter is commercial, and I don't know if you do industrial, but I call it commercial industrial. But you know, we do a fair amount of it, but I'm not as well versed as you guys are. And you know, if there's something to learn, there's guys like me 100% willing to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. I think we're gonna do it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Why not?
Cool.
So there's been some new improvements for Simpalo. I'll throw that out there real quick.
Ooh.
So some stuff has actually been pushed out to the live version, I think, since our last show. It was all being tested in the development world. And so I'm going to release a video and just kind of go over some of the new features and
Yeah,
stuff.
I was wondering if it's worth me trying to explain what that
No.
is. It's probably pretty difficult to articulate what exactly
Yeah.
that function is if you're not using Simpalo daily.
Yeah. So we'll put some of that stuff out there and just kind of talk about, some of the new features and all, but it's cool stuff. And it's a lot of little things that make the day-to-day use of it a lot easier.
Yeah. User friendly, I would say.
Yeah. So I just bid something and I had 2 different options I had to give. And now you can duplicate everything. So like option 1, you can just click a button and it duplicates it. And I was able to change the layout a little bit and give them 2 different options a lot quicker than I would have before. So, but little things like that really make a big difference.
Yeah.
So now, tool time. Tool time with Zach.
Tool time with Dan the tool. You're now Dan the tool man Wheeler. Tool time with Dan the tool man Wheeler.
Yeah. I don't.
We're talking about trailers. Speaking of wheels and wheelers, let's talk
There
about
we go.
trailers.
That's good.
So we have a Iron Bull is one of the ones we've used for a long time as equipment trailer.
Yep.
It's like they're pretty beast. The ramps are actually subpar. Just gonna throw that out there. So we've had to custom fabricate ramps a couple of different times because just running T740 skid steer up the track machine up that thing, they will bow after day 2. Basically,
They just look like bananas.
so they work, but it kind of looks janky and
Seems
unsafe. So we will custom build. We actually recently, Kenny is an estimator, but also kind of acts as our unofficial equipment manager. He proposed that we build some in the shop, and that we found a company locally that could build them for what I consider to be less than we could build them in the shop. So to build us some bigger ones. What about you, man? What kind of trailers are y'all pulling?
Actually, I just picked up one from getting some new lights on it and some electrical work. We just use 14K deck overs.
Cool.
20 footers, something like that. Beaver tails. That's we have the old school ones, a lot beefier than the new school ones. So, but yeah, that's all we run. We have a couple smaller ones too. My dad drives a 1/2-ton truck. He refuses to use a 1-ton. So we have a couple small ones for him too. But yeah, they're pretty basic, simple, but deck overs are the way to go. And that's all we run.
I have a deck over. And so I bought it. We had always used the equipment trailers, the like traditional kind of low boy equipment trailers that the machine sits down in between the fenders. And I got a deck over, and I don't know. I'm just not crazy about it. It's way easier if you've got to load long stuff on it from the side because you don't have the fenders to fight with and all that. But for hauling equipment and loading your machine on it and putting attachments and all, I kind of prefer the like low boy trailer over the deck over for equipment. But then the flip side of it is when you're loading pallets, specifically pallets, like fenders are a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And then any kind of long stuff or whatever, like having the fenders out of the way definitely is a big plus there.
Right. So in our list here, we got this 40-foot gooseneck, the Gatorade.
Yeah. So Gatorade makes the best gooseneck trailer that I've ever seen. They're pretty freaking phenomenal. They're built really well.
And then we also, for the deck overs, we have a couple of just like solid steel ones that we made here. I don't even know how long ago. I mean,
100 years ago or something.
Super old.
Yeah.
And so I guess really like it's depending on the use. If you're hauling material, if you're hauling a machine, or if you're hauling a machine and material, it's kind of our trucks are set up with pretty long beds, and then we have racks on the top so they can pretty much get all the material on the truck, save for like a pallet of Sackcrete can go on the low boy, and then the skid steer behind that. It's kind of how we set that up.
Yep. I think there's there may be a video out there of one of our trucks so you can kind of like see the racks overhead. I know we have a video recorded of the Iron Bull trailer we talked about a minute ago. And I don't think we've got any of the homemade trailers or Gator made, but I think the one with the big blue truck with the gooseneck behind it, I think we talked about the racks that go on top of the trailer so you can put gates up above the machine and all that
Right.
stuff too. So
Have you done any equipment videos of you guys stuff?
No, not. I used to story like every day, 10 times a day, and all our stuff was on that on Instagram. But I got away from that a lot just because we're so busy. But
Right, for sure.
I haven't tapped into the video world again. I'm just so busy. I'd love to, but that's just until I have someone follow me around with a camera. It's probably just not going to realistically get done.
Man, I feel that. I ran a small business, and even just like trying to maintain a social media presence as an owner operator is fucking ridiculous, you know? So
Yep.
I get it, dude.
It's a lot. So, anyways, so be on the lookout for some videos that we've made of our trucks and trailers and things like that. And it's a lot better to see it than it is for us to try to sit here and talk about it. But I think Dan Wheeler kind of called us out a little bit about talking about brands, and also the reason for Tool Time is just for you, sir.
Well, thank
Just
you.
for you.
I seen the video of you with the trailer, the truck and trailer, the big blue one.
Yeah.
I seen that. It was a good one.
Yeah.
I like it.
I just kind of like randomly went outside one day and had a camera, and I was like, all right, we're about to record some. And so
That's how things get done though, man. Like, you know, done is better than perfect sometimes.
That's right. That's right. All right.
Cool.
So let's check out the Italian word for the week.
Now it's time for a segment of the show we like to call Italian for the Week. I think.
The Italian for the week.
Yeah, whatever.
The word is perimeter.
Easy. Perimetro.
Ah,
I know.
perimetro.
You still said it wrong.
Of course I did.
Would you say it again? Dan threw me off.
Perimetro.
Oh, perimetro.
Slay.
I said it in her voice.
I tried
Yeah.
to. That's what I tried to do.
All right,
as well.
Dan Wheeler, you're up, buddy.
Oh, I got to do it too.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's
Let's do what you got.
Man. Perimetro.
Good
I'm
job.
not. No. I know that was horrific. You know.
No, actually it wasn't. I usually tell them if it's bad.
Well, I can't tell if it's good or bad because I can never get them right. I was on a roll there for a bit.
Yeah, you did.
Cool.
And I've really fallen apart. So
Give these people what they want. They
Let's
want to
do
hear
it.
some content.
Let's
man.
get to
They
it,
want to
man.
hear us talking shit. All
Yeah.
right, so we got Dan Wheeler on the show of River City Fence for the first ever fence podcast. Been doing it for 3 years. That sounds pretty awesome.
3
Dan, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us again, man. It's a super honor to have you here. Again, Dan is actually this cool in real life. I've met him in person a few times. That casual.
Yep.
This
Yep,
is
for
This
sure.
is Dan all the time, as far as I can tell. So
You know-
I think Dan may be our number one fan.
I'm pretty sure he is.
Is that correct?
He is.
I think I've learned that he's our number one fan.
Hey,
So
I guess I'll take it.
Whatever that means, you know. I don't know if that's complimenting us or him. Either
right. I'm not sure.
either way. So thanks for the support, man.
Yep.
So you want to do a little bit tell us about yourself, when your company started, how did it start? Just give us a little background story about your experience in the fence industry.
Yeah, I like the number one fan there. I'm second generation. My dad started the company in 1985, so we have 39 years this year. I was born and raised into it. The only time I stepped away is my dad forced me out in what was it? Sometime in the 2000s, mid to late, and because just like your typical family business, right? You're not going to work here. You're doing something different, bigger, better. Worked at John Deere. I was in the welding for 6 years. I made the giant grapple tongs for log skidders, and I welded in the articulating loader department too. So ginormous welds, stack welds like this tall, steel 3, 4, 8 inches thick type stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, I learned a lot there though. I did SOPs, all that stuff. Like if you knew how to weld, in 2 weeks, I could bring you in, train you, and you could be welding the front half of a frame for an articulating dump truck or something like that. The learning curve's that short that they have it down to a science. So I tried to implement as much as I can into the fence world. But yeah, no, 2024. I can't remember how long I've been out of deer. These years blend together, but 3 years ago, I wanted to start a podcast. I got real deep into the business side of River City Fence when I got back in and started listening to some business podcasts, nothing out there in the fence world. And I just took the dive, man. Got a producer, got a roadcaster, press record. 3 years later, I don't know where I'm at, 280 some episodes later or something like that. And here we are.
Cool, man.
I always like to talk about some videos that I saw early on when I decided to make some videos for Memphis Fence. And so I started going on to YouTube and like watching videos of how to make videos and all that. And one of these guys had like an intro or outro or something like that. And it just said, you just got to press record. And I was like, you know what? That's freaking awesome. And I don't know how, but that little phrase, and like I said, it was part of his intro or something. And it stuck with me ever since. Like, you just got to press record. You just got to send it. So
that's how I made my mark. You know, I do Facebook, but not a lot. But I got on Instagram. That's where I was in the fence world. That's where I kind of made my mark, and it's purely on stories, man. You know, I was nervous as hell years ago. I started recording what I did, stories, and dude, it just blew up. And it was like, you know, I ordered Ready Mix where when we used to not drive post so much, I ordered Ready Mix from a concrete truck. People couldn't believe it. You know, we would dig 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs a day. Couldn't believe it. How do you do it? Well, we use machines. Like most guys are like, well, we use a beaver. No, you need to use a machine, and this is why. And I order concrete, and this is how we pour multiple jobs. So I really, that's where like, I don't want to say put me on the fence map, but that's where it did. And then, you know, the podcast came shortly after that. So
that's what made you famous. You were Instagram famous.
I wouldn't say that.
Right. So when you were young,
Mhm.
did you think you were going to go into the fence industry? Like, was that the plan, or did you think you were going to go somewhere else? I know you said your dad basically made you go get a job somewhere else at some point, but like, what was your plan?
Yeah, in kindergarten, were you drawing pictures of you building fence? Like, when I grow up, I want to be a fencer.
In kindergarten, I was building fence, Zach.
Oh, right. There you go.
Yeah, so, you know, I don't know. I think about that. I don't know. I don't know if I had a plan. I was the type I worked all the time. So fencing was always working. Even if I had a normal job, like in college, I still fence on the week, right? Fencing was always a part of my life, has always been. So I don't know if it ever was not going to be a part. And now, you know, it's, I like to think that we're very successful, and I'm barely scratching the surface here. So 100%, I'm not going nowhere.
Sure. You know what I imagined during that? I imagine him going to sword fighting competitions on the weekends with his fencing. Yes.
Cool.
All right. So you were always kind of doing it, basically.
Mhm.
That's cool, man. So I can actually remember, I for some reason thought about this. I can remember when I was a kid, and I had to be in like 3rd or 4th grade or something like that. And it was one of these days at school, and I think we were playing hangman. And the word that I used was loop cap. And I was like, nobody's ever going to get this. And they didn't.
Right.
And so I could just like come up with random fence parts when I was a little kid, and I could always win hangman.
Right.
But yeah, it's weird being born here, you know, it's just like always it's in you. I don't know. But so that's cool. When I was young, man, I went through a lot of different things about jobs that I wanted. And like when I first started going to college, I was pre-med. I was going to be a plastic surgeon, right? I wanted to go to the Army. I wanted to be a ranger. My grandfather wouldn't let me go. And like, so I went through all of these different things, and I basically tried to do everything other than fence, except, you know, after school, weekends, summer, all of that stuff. Like, you know, I had to have a job. And it just stuck, man. And here we are.
Mhm.
So what's your favorite, you know, install? Like your favorite type of fence, your favorite customer? I mean, just whatever it could be like that.
You know, up until 2024, when we really have implemented pounding posts, man, I just like to dig and set because it's like a couple tools. I'm not dragging a bunch of material. You know, there's just so much involved on the finish side of things. Now, if I could dig and set all day, every day, that's what I wanted to do. Now, you know, we're driving post. And in the vinyl world, we've been pushing it so hard because we're in and out in one day on every job. Basically, if it's a big job, we'll bring more guys, still get it done in one day. So I'm in the vinyl world, man. I'm falling in love with it so fast because it's clean, it's easy. Again, only a handful of tools. And we're in and out. There's no nail guns to jam, air hoses to reel up, compressors running all day long. There's so much involved in wood. But vinyl jobs, I would say right now I absolutely love them because you go into a backyard with no fence and you leave, it's completely done. Gates, everything, 100%. And that's a good feeling, and nothing like collecting checks, right? So
yeah, for sure. So I have a question for you.
Mhm.
This wasn't planned, but so we've never driven a vinyl job, and we actually don't hardly ever do vinyl. It's a pretty rare thing for us to do a vinyl job. But I've got a job that I'm working on right now, and it's like, I don't know, 1,900, 2,000 feet of 8-foot tall vinyl. Would you drive it?
Yeah.
8-foot tall.
Yep.
Yeah, with 2.5-inch posts and donuts.
Yep, 6-foot centers.
Yeah, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for the
Easy.
advice.
That's easy, man. Give me a hard
Easy
one, Dan.
peasy.
Come on.
Yes,
Well-
yes, 6 foot.
Yeah.
And the donuts, I would use the super donuts from Sean. There is a difference. The collar is like 4 times everybody else's collar, the contact to the post. And I'm talking to the steel post, and then the collar that's touching the vinyl post is like twice as thick, and then the material is just night and day. It's just, love them or hate them, that man makes them, really nice vinyl sleeve donuts. So
yeah, we've quoted, I think 1 job or 2 with donuts, and I went to a ozfence.store and used promo code TFIP for 15% off.
that's right. One
No,
call gets it all, one click gets it quick. Remember that.
yeah. So that's the ones that I've used to quote, but yeah, I'll check out the others. So is there anything you wanted to talk about today? Like, since you're here, anything you want to throw out, any subjects or topics or anything?
No, I'm here. Whatever you want to talk about, you ask me questions. It doesn't matter. I'm an open book, man. Anything.
All right.
So
Yeah.
you recently attended the Minster Fence Academy retreat?
I did.
Yeah, where was that?
It's Gatlinburg.
Oh, nice.
And it was up on a mountain. I'm sure you guys have driven through that area, right? Or
Sure.
through Tennessee, and where those roads are so windy and you get car sick. Maybe
I
not
love
you guys. No, I can't. I'm like, dude, I was like sweating in that car. And then I was in the Tesla, and and we had to stop and get it charged because it was using so much battery. But anyways, it was down in Gatlinburg. It's beautiful there, obviously. And then the retreat, dude, David Gatta was the last speaker of the last night, of the last hour, and that dude shut it down. He shut it down. It was days after he buried his brother. Dude's just different, man. He's different. He ate the damn brisket with his bare hands. Like, he's just built different, bro. I loved it.
Yeah. So he was on the show. That was a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of, he told his story and all that here on the show. We enjoyed that one. I've talked to several people. I was actually in the Mr. Fence Academy weekly recap kind of meeting that they do 3 weeks ago or something like that. And so I just made a public confession to all of them, and I was like, I really regret not being there. I'm sorry I was not there.
Dude, you missed it. It was Mark Olson spoke. Matt Warner spoke. We did a Monday meeting outside, and it was raining, and it was, it was wild, bro. Like, it was just Andrew Martin spoke. It was just it was phenomenal, dude. Like, it's you always try to recap it, but you always try to not to sound like you're overemphasizing it. But that, I just tell people you missed it. You missed something really good, because I'm not going to try to go in all that detail and sound like a lunatic. But dude, it was what Sean put together there with his team. I'm telling you, that's priceless, in my opinion. Priceless.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man.
Cool.
Definitely regret not going, like I said.
So have you been to this West Coast show before?
No. So it's once every 3 years.
Okay.
So I caught wind of it when in Boston, right? We're up there, or
Yeah.
Groton, Connecticut, wherever we were. It's all the same to
Yeah.
us. But yeah, I caught wind and I heard about it, and it's a once every 3 years, 3 chapters come together. It's supposed to be a banger. I'm like, well, I'll commit to it now. So I committed to it then, and now it's really turning out to be something wild, man. Like they added 10,000 square feet. I think they do a golf outing too. I don't golf, so I won't be doing that, but I'm excited, man. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. I'm excited to see it. And,
Mhm.
you know, we've been talking to our local folks here about trying to do something a little different. And so I'm excited to go up there and come back and be like, look, let me show you how awesome this thing was. You know, it
Right.
was amazing.
Exactly.
But yeah, so looking forward to it. I think it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a ton of people there, and I think it's going to be great. So
Look at the Boston or the Northeast chapter, dude. They expected X amount of people and they more than doubled it. Like it
Yeah.
was and then again the education side was just booming. So like there's a need for it, man. For live events, I always say, and education in the fence world. It's a great time to be in the fence industry right now. I can't emphasize that enough.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the biggest response we got from soliciting the prospect of having a trade show in the Memphis tri-state chapter was focusing on education. Everyone was pretty open to that. So
Yeah.
that may be how we can kind of get our hooks in, so to speak. But currently, I mean, a golf scramble, there's no education in that, you know?
Yeah.
And you say you don't play golf. I don't play golf yet. I'm open to try. I think I might actually be like a superstar, just like sleeper golf player. So when I play, it's gonna just be all of a sudden, you know, I'm gonna make an AFA tour and just kick everyone's ass in golf. But yeah, so I didn't play either, you know. So it's like, then what do you do? It's kind of so to have that tandem golf scramble trade show thing going on with the opportunity for education. I mean, that sounds like a amazing event to me. So
Yeah, because Zach and I were not really the best at the whole like networking, socializing thing, which is kind of ironic since we decided to do a podcast. But we're not that good at just like being in a room full of people and talking to all of them. So we're kind of just like, all right, we need something to do. Like, and so in Tunica, we just went and grabbed a couple golf carts and like went and rode around.
I just ate some more fish or whatever. It's like,
Right.
I guess I'll eat some more catfish now.
Right. So you started your podcast 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Why? Man, I always say that I like to stay ahead of the curve, and there was nothing out there in the fence world for podcasts only. There's other social media out there, right? Joe, the legend, the GOAT in our trade, was out there, but not a podcast. And I always like to be the first. I always like to be that guy, I guess. So, and I was listening to other podcasts. I kind of made friends with them. They hooked me up with a producer, and the rest was history. But yeah, the why is, and the other thing is, at that time, we were in business 36 years, and a lot of people ask me a lot of questions all the time, and I'm just talking strictly through Instagram. So I feel like I had something that I could share, because I seen other guys work, and they're working on Instagram, like, and man, they could have done things a lot easier, and I could have, let them leapfrog some of that blood, sweat, and tears, I always say, and to get to the next level way easier, way cheaper, and way faster.
I think that's kind of a more modern concept. Like generations before us would have just like let them struggle, and it's like, we keep our trade
100%.
secrets.
Yes.
Don't let them see your cards, and that's how we get up better than the next guy, basically.
I think that still exists in the commercial fence world. And so, kind of like what you're talking about with Simpalo was what led me to people asking questions. And so I kind of had the same thought. I was like, man, I mean, maybe we have something we could share with people talking about this commercial stuff and all. And like I said, I think it's still that way in more of the commercial, industrial, general contractor, whatever you want to say, side of the fence industry.
Maybe just like construction as a whole,
Maybe. But yeah, things are definitely different than they were. I mean, in my lifetime and my time in the industry, it's a lot different. So
yeah, it's even today, my dad is still very hesitant. We have a manufacturer, one of our or of our vinyl fence going to come out and watch me do a no dig around a pool, and has every obstacle you can think of. They want to see it. I'm like, well, I have the perfect job. Well, that's in the market that we don't even work in, right? So it's kind of not far away, but it's just not in my market. But I got the job somehow, some way. I went in there, gave him the Dan Wheeler pitch, got it. And I'm like, hey, Dad, let's bring a couple of these other companies that I like. They do great work, mom and pop, good sized company, same size as us. Let's bring them in. Let me teach them the no dig. So then we're all on the same level playing field, because there is another big company in that market, does not do a very good job. And that's all they've ever seen. And they don't use, there's just things that they do that they shouldn't, pipe size, the whole night. I won't go into that details, but that's all those two companies seen. But if they would come in and watch me, maybe they can implement it, open their eyes a little bit, and then we can all get on the same playing field, because there will be a time I will be in that market. That time is coming. So I don't want to bid against them and them say, hey, they only drive posts in the ground. They should be concreted, right? I wish we could all be on the same field where we're just selling ourselves, I'm not dogging Dan T. He drives posts and puts this plastic thing on it. Like, you want your fence held up by a piece of plastic? No, it's military grade polymer or something like that. It's 2.5 inch 40 weight pipe, 4.5 feet in the ground. Like, you're not bending that over. You can bend a vinyl post. That's what I want, and he's still very hesitant. Like, no, we'll just keep it to ourselves. So, it is what it is.
It's kind of funny. Like, oh, it's just a 2.5 inch pipe. Right. Well, I mean, without it, it's just a piece of plastic. Like, right. It's a plastic pipe.
It's a hollow plastic pipe.
But you can take it one step further. Not only that, at ground level, I use a 2x7 rail. So on each side of a line post, 50% of that material is cut out.
Yeah.
So now it's a piece of plastic with half of the material on each side missing.
Right. Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, let's, but how we are. Fencers are stuck in our ways, and that's fine. I'm going to do me and worry about me. If I can help the next guy, 100%. But yeah, we're cooking over here, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Whenever I see these new trends or whatever you want to call them, like driving post and doing the no dig vinyl and all that stuff. So I'm not going to be the first person that jumps in it.
Right.
But it always does make me go, that looks like it actually might be a decent idea. And like I said, we've bid a couple of jobs that way, but it's interesting, man. It's interesting. So
now that was me last year, Dan. And then when we were up in Groton, I stayed a couple of days and did a training with Sean at Matt's place, Matt Sharadana with JC Fence, and sold. There was a couple of things I needed to clean up, because I've done it a handful of times. I needed to clean up a couple of things to make my life a little bit easier for me to justify it. I went to the training, I cleaned up those things. He answered some questions. I came back. I haven't looked back since.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So how long do you think it took you, if like having a podcast, before you started having, gaining traction or getting noticed or something like that?
Oh man, the first year was rough. I felt like I was talking to nobody, and you don't know who's listening, right? You see a number, but shout out to Tony Thornton, dude. He gave me my first break. I had him on the show with hopes, because it was prior to Fence Tech New Orleans, with hopes to let me podcast on the show floor. I'm like, hey, in the green industry, Tony, like, they podcast from the show floor. He's like, Dan Wheeler, Tony Thornton will allow you to be at the AFA booth in New Orleans. And so when I was there, I was super nervous. I had no Facebook or nothing. I'm just me. I don't know who knew me. So I had a few people come up. So that gave me a boost of confidence. But being there helped. But after year one, probably within a year and a half, it really started picking up. And now, man, I'm coming off one of my most downloaded weeks ever, I think last week or the week before that. So, dude, we're cooking right now. So it takes time. But man, like, so Paul Jameson with the Green Industry podcast, it's 100 episodes or a year, and then reevaluate.
Yeah. So 100 episodes. We're on, I think this is number
20
38?
of season. Oh yeah, like
38, 39
probably.
for us,
39.
something like that. Yeah. Oh man. So how do you keep coming up with topics? Speaking of 38 or 39 in, and now Ilaria's like, what are we going to talk about this week? I'm like,
call somebody and get them on the show quick.
Right. We need a guest, please.
Just bringing a guest on, everyone's known for something, who do I want to pick on here? Ryan Sloop. I just had him on Wednesday. He's an ag guy. You know, he's known like kind of the glue of the ornamental ag community. I just wanted to talk to him and his fence background and kind of go from there. And that's exactly how it went, and it went great. I didn't necessarily have an agenda. Sometimes I do. If I bring Benji on with Clever Fox out online, of course, I want to talk SEO. I want to talk about it's slow right now. What can a guy do to pick it up? If I bring on a guy like, I don't know, Andrew Martin, a financial guy, what can a young dude right now who has no idea what the terminology that you're using do to get ready for retirement or to make his business sellable in 30 years so he has something to fall back onto? It's stuff like that. I not necessarily have like an exact agenda, but everyone's kind of known for something. Have you on, Dan? I want to talk about you and your background and commercial bidding and commercial work, because that's what you're known for.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that's kind of what we try to do, I think. So speaking of guest, we got Eubanks Fence, I assume Craig Eubanks. I'm not positive, but
or somebody with Craig.
It's Craig.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ilaria, have you reached out to him yet to see if he wanted to be a guest?
Not yet.
Not yet.
But I
Oh,
stalked all these pages and I was like, he's a good fit.
Okay. Sorry. Sorry for ruining the surprise. But,
Craig's a great guy. We ate breakfast or something like that in Nashville, and we talked. But that dude is as good as it gets.
Yeah. Yep. So watch out, Craig. Ilaria is going to be reaching out to you to try to get you on the show. So yeah, it's man. And then the guest thing, like that's a struggle too, trying to get guests, because people are like, oh yeah, that's awesome, I'll do it. And then you like never hear from them again.
Right. You got to say at 5 p.m. on this date.
Yeah.
In the beginning, man, I couldn't get a guest on. I couldn't. Like, I have so many solo ones in the beginning. Dude, it was like pulling teeth. No one knew what a podcast was. And then they're like, well, how do I listen? You know, I had like 4 screenshots of my home screen, and then what, like the podcast thing circled, and then the search bar function, search here, you know, like,
wow.
This, dude, that's where I was, man. I did that every night. When I went to bed, I have 10 people on Instagram. I DM'd them, said, hey, I'm Dan Wheeler, blah, blah, blah. I had a podcast. Can you listen to it, whatever. I did that for months and months and months just to get my name out there. It's basically a cold call, but it's a grind, dude. It's a business. It's no different. Like, if you want to succeed, it is like what you guys are. You guys are at all the events now. I'm at all the events. You got to be seen. You got to be known. You got to put the time in, and I see you guys doing it. I love it.
The power of presence.
Right.
That episode that I was so excited about and I thought was going to be awesome is like our 3rd worst downloaded episode ever.
See, that's funny because that's social media. Sometimes they do very cool things. I'm like, oh, this thing is going to like blow. And then I get like 3 views. And then I do something and I'm like, I don't like this, but I had to put out something and I get like 500. I'm like, this is awful.
Yeah. Right. Isn't that crazy? Like I said, I thought the power of presence was a good show, and nobody freaking even cared about it.
I don't think I was really feeling it, to be honest. Like during the episode, I was kind of like, what are we really talking about, man?
Yeah.
You don't understand, man. You don't genius.
You don't get it, Zach.
I'm
you don't
a stroke of genius. So I was like, yeah, okay, all right, we'll do it. The power of presence, the power of now. I mean, the power of presence.
Yeah. Yeah. The power of presence. And not like Christmas presents, But no, it happened after
everyone
we came
just
back.
stopped listening to this.
I know, they all just went
oh
away.
Shit, worst episode again.
Back to this. It happened after we were at the Northeast show and people started scheduling Simpalo demos when we were just walking around.
Right.
And I was like, man, that's crazy. People we didn't even talk to,
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so I'd like to kind of talk about your process of like bidding commercial jobs. I know what
you just want to ask if he's using Simpalo.
No, I know he's not using Simpalo, so I'm not asking that. But I would like to know kind of like how do you find jobs? What software are you using? That type of stuff.
So we don't use a software yet. But my dad does all those bids typically. But we have just a tight-knit group of GCs we work for, always have, and really keeps us more than busy. So we have it kind of easier than everyone else. Again, We've been doing it for a long time with the same people. They trust us. They love us. We know what they expect out of us. So for me, you know, we're kind of old school, so it comes a little easier for us as compared to some guy that's probably just starting out or trying to get their feet wet in the commercial world.
Sure.
Yeah,
And
that's
how long
cool.
did you say you guys been in business?
39 years this year.
39. Cool, man.
So I think the ideal thing is to get in with that group of GCs
Right.
that you can keep working for.
Mhm.
Because every time you bid something and you like work for a new one, now you got to figure out the way they operate and like their paperwork and, you know, kind of that whole thing. You got to learn it, not just because it's like a constant flow of jobs coming in. That's obviously great, but also the whole like, you know, their system kind of thing. So, right.
The other a big tip I always tell people, you always get a call from a GC in a pinch.
Yeah,
and they're in
for
a
sure.
pinch. Something's got to get done. Take care of him. So many that we have worked for because we've been over back. It was a Saturday or a Friday or maybe it's a Sunday or something. Yeah, it sucks then, but guess what? When you can get it in their back pocket, man, usually they'll take care of you. So it sucks in the beginning sometimes, just like everything. It's a grind, but man, if you can get in their pocket some way somehow, do it because you know they'll remember you from there on.
Yeah, for sure. If you help them solve a problem, they're going to remember that.
Yes. Yep.
So you're not using any kind of software or anything, and you're just kind of like basically getting repeat customers, man. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all are man, when I first started bidding jobs, like it was pretty old school here. And we would go in and we would like print out the plans or go to a contractor's office, and you know they all had plan rooms and stuff like that. I don't know if they still do, but back then, and you'd just go in there with your scale and you'd measure everything off and like draw it out on another piece of paper and then bring it back to the office. And gosh, I did that for a long time, and it takes a significant amount of time longer than using software. So just keep that in mind as time rolls on. And I'm not trying to sell you mine, any of them. You know, there's other options and they're great. So what about like the whole managing of jobs? And this can be, you know, commercial, residential, anything you want to talk about. Like, are you using any kind of system for managing the jobs that you have sold?
Yep. So we implemented Elite Technique this year. Our salesman puts everything through there. We're transitioning to that. I myself don't spend a lot of time there, but Alan does because I want him to be 1000% before we completely transition. But currently right now we use Job Nimbus. And that's really just, I don't use it on the automation side or anything like that. I literally only use it to track jobs. Like, and you know, you can make your own columns and stuff because I can tell you stories, 2 winters ago, like we're old school, right? Folders, papers. When you forget to bid or bill someone, you know, or 3 people, and maybe one of them's a commercial job, and you're like, holy cow, we forgot to put their final bill out. You know, I said, okay. I was eating breakfast with my parents in the middle of winter. I went home, called Job Nimbus, signed up on the spot, and created the folders. So then we can click and drag, man. Like, because that's happening. I always say, Dan, because the small companies, the small guys don't think they need a CRM. They don't need a Simpalo. I beg to differ, and I say, the smaller you are, the more you need a CRM to help you with it.
Yeah.
I want, because the bigger the companies, the more bodies they have to throw at a problem. Smaller company, you need all the help you can freaking get, dude.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I like to use the analogy, and Zach's probably going to hit me. You know, I like to use the analogy of people saying, I don't have time to stop and put gas in the car. I'm too busy pushing it. I'm like, well, you know, there's a faster way. Like you could get where you're going faster if you just took a minute and then sped up. But yeah. So we use monday.com, and we just have a bunch of different boards and stuff like that built out in there that we're using kind of as our CRM deal. And we've done the same thing you're talking about, man, where we've done jobs and then just forgot to bill them. And then you get to like 6 months later, call somebody and be like, hey, you remember that job and we never billed you for it? Like now we're going to send you a bill. And that never goes well. Like one, you just lost a ton of like professionalism or, you know, whatever kind of impression they had of you. And then also a lot of people are like, well, I could pay it then, but I can't pay it now. Sorry. And I mean, it doesn't go well. So
the longer that money sits, the harder it's to collect.
Yeah. So I think it's a big deal having some kind of system that every job goes through,
which unlike Job Nimbus, the workflows on Monday are basically designed by us, which is kind of good because I personally am kind of a nerd about designing the process and the flow and all that.
Yeah.
So we did try Job Nimbus, and I like that Kanban view and everything. But, so we build the workflow that each job will go through ourselves, and we've basically been working on it for the last year and a half to kind of get it honed in. But everything's in there, and we can see where it's at in process, and if it's ready to be billed. Obviously, as long as I click yes, this one's job's complete, then same kind of thing. Very similar process to yours, I guess.
So just to clarify, like Zach said, we tried Job Nimbus. We did. I think it's solid. I'm not I don't think that Monday is an alternative to Job Nimbus. It doesn't do what Job Nimbus will do. Our problem was the way that we do our job costing and some accounting stuff. Like we had an issue with the sync with QuickBooks, and so that's the reason why we didn't stay with it. But I do think it's solid. So
for sure.
Not trying to put that thing down at all.
No, I'm not saying that either.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify. So man, we used to have, in fact, a part of our business still operates, and you walk in the room and there's just a row of work orders laid out across the table. So that's okay because they have a book, they have a log book. So they still log every single job that's sold in the same place and go back and mark them as being billed. Right. And so to me, that's the biggest thing of all of it. Well, there's a million benefits of using some sort of system, but I mean, that is a huge point of being able to make sure that you bill everything. And so just like something as simple as a logbook with all your jobs, you can write them all down and then mark them all off as you bill them. And then you don't have to get up from Christmas dinner or whatever and go bill somebody. So, got anything?
Yeah. What about giving the instructions to installers? How do they receive work orders, or what format do you give that to them in? Does everyone have a tablet, or are you giving pieces of paper? How y'all doing that?
Yeah, we have a bunch of iPads. Nobody uses them. But really we just print it off. I'm on a lot of the jobs. So is my dad. And we have some experienced guys that can do some stuff on their own. But we're still small enough to where we manage on site basically everything. But once my salesman sells it, obviously the pictures are logged in, the diagram materials, all that. So I know what I'm up against. So when we go out there, and then I kind of I give the rundown to the guys, but it's the same thing, but different job. We do the same thing every day. Like if it's a dig and set, pound, whatever, the beginning stage of a job, I guess you should say post, they all know. One guy's staking strings, the next guy's doing this. We just all know. My dad and I aren't really great at that communication aspect, but we do it every day, same thing. So within a week, someone's literally up to speed. So that's what's nice about it.
Yeah.
And
that's how you always know you got somebody good whenever the third time you show up to a job site and they're like, oh, let me just hop out and start doing this thing you told me to do the other 2 times.
Let me get the stakes and string at least.
Right. Right. At least
the things we used last time.
And you got those folks that have done it for 5 years and they're still like, all right, what do you want me to do? I'm like,
oh, you're bringing back memories, man. But yeah, we've all had them.
So as we're getting to our hour mark here, so I'm going to skip down a little bit and just, you think it's time for all right. So you've been on our show now, man. You've kind of seen our process. You've seen the inner workings of our show. Do you have any pointers, any advice that we could do to try to improve what we're doing here?
Man, well, I seen that earlier, so I was thinking about it. One, dude, it's a grind. You just got to stick to it. Keep doing what you're doing, and things will change, right? Like when I first started doing my show, I did it a certain way. Now it's really transitioned, right? Like I don't know, want to call it a flow, but it's just a style, I should say. But man, like I'd love for you guys to use some Palo. more or talk about it more, because if you had this issue this week, or what did Simpala do for you this week, you know, and I know you don't like talking that a lot, Dan, I've noticed that, but man, it's something that can benefit the guys listening, right? And if you're, even if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes every show at the beginning, we had this issue, and Zach used Simpala, and this is a great benefit, right? You just release some new stuff on it, like you were saying, but get people more familiarized with it, and how, like, if I'm listening, like, holy cow, I had that exact same issue, and that Simpala can take care of that for me, and you can do it that much faster. You know what I'm saying? It's going to open some eyes up to it, I should say.
Yeah.
But that's me, in my opinion. But I love what you guys do. I like the tag team aspect of it. I really like it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, it's painful. So like I have mad respect, or I don't know, give y'all props or whatever. The guys that do this kind of like solo stuff, it's really hard to just sit here and talk to a camera for an hour. So that's a whole different world. It's way better having Zach here with me and like us doing the tag team thing for sure.
Right.
So it's funny, this week, what we were working on, Claiborne and I, today, I'm not going to tell you what the name of the job is yet because it hasn't bid, but here in the next few weeks, we might circle back to that. It's pretty cool. But it's this job, and there's like 14 different types of fence on the same job. And man, there's probably 120 gates on there or something. It's madness. And so we're able to run all that stuff through Simpala, and like everything's color coded, and you can look through it and actually see where all the stuff is. I mean, it takes a lot of, it still takes a pretty decent bit of like human input, seeing what the different types of fence are and tracing them all out and all that. But I mean, it's awesome to be able to just sit and look and see everything kind of like highlighted, right? So back in the olden days, that's what I would do, is I would highlight where the chain link was, and, the ornamental would be a different color. And,
right.
So I think that's kind of where the like colored lines in Simpala came from, was that's what I did initially.
That's what we all do. Yeah, that's what we all do. And again, see, that's a nice little feature aspect to Simpala that someone probably was like, well, I'm not going to use it because all my jobs have 2-3 different styles of fence, right? Like maybe it's something simpler in the back, and in the front, something always custom or whatever. You never know, man. You never know.
Yeah.
We got all the colors.
Colors.
You can use any color you want with Simpala.
So selling point number 43, we have all the colors.
Yeah, I mean, you use blue, green, yellow, orange,
right?
Pink, and then you're out. What if you run out of Sharpie? I mean, highlighter colors.
There's only so many highlighter colors, right? Then you got to like start mixing them.
Not with Simpala, it's infinite colors.
So do you have any suggestions of any topics?
I don't know, man. It's you're in that commercial world, so I don't know. I would get some commercial guys on that maybe specialize in that. That's what I would do, and pick their brain on it. And that's what I do. That's what I found successful. So like, I used to try to do a very specific topic, but guess what? Every time it always veers off the beaten path.
Sure.
Never does. So Craig says he's colorblind.
Yeah, right. I was trying to think of something witty about, like, some kind of braille color thing that we could put on there. I don't know. I'm not sure what to do about that. You got nothing?
No, I don't know. I don't know anything about color blindness.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We need to find some Craig, that's the reason Ilaria suggested him, was for the commercial fence stuff. And so he says he'll wing it. There we go. That's what
there's someone I follow on Instagram. I believe he's out of New York. Polsky Fencing. Starts with a P. They do some pretty incredible stuff. Big gates, big stuff.
Wow.
They must have like a media crew, because they got some crazy drone videos of everything. They do some pretty wicked stuff. He'd be someone, I'll forward it to you. He'd be someone that'd be really interesting to listen to, like way over my level. I'm hanging a 4-foot galvanized gate, not like a 80-foot, aluminum slide gate, but we do that, but not every day like you guys are.
So there's another reason to sign up for Simpala. We'll invite you to be on our show. We just need to go through our customer list and just try to start getting them
on the show.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure. All right, man. Well, I think that's pretty much the end of it, right? We'll go ahead and wrap it up here. We're already a little over an hour, so
Man, Dan, Dan Wheeler. Thanks for being on the show.
Yep.
Really appreciate it, man. First in the Fence podcast.
yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
indeed
Fence
it is.
business. Been in business 39 years. Very knowledgeable fenceman. Very likable guy. Man, looking forward to seeing you in Reno at the West Coast AFA chapter, tri-chapter golf tournament or whatever that's going to be called, trade show golf tournament. I don't know how to, dude. They get the
We're the
titles,
worst.
but the titles are so damn long.
I know.
I mean, it's really long.
I don't know where like all these fencers back in the day started these golfing tournament things. Like maybe golfing was way more popular back in the day, but I don't know anybody that golfs. I ain't chasing a ball around a hot field with no shade. Like, dude, if I'm in the sun like that, I'm getting paid. I'm making money, like not chasing this little white ball around.
We spent 20 minutes trying to roll the ball in the hole by hand for a video.
Just to get a shot of it going in.
And we
yeah.
couldn't even roll it from like 3 feet away.
The real golfers are like, get the heck off the course.
Yeah. No, there actually was some guys that started yelling at us because we're just over here with the GoPro on the green. We didn't even see them.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
Well, dude, thanks again for being on the show, man. It's a privilege and honor to have you for real. I mean that. So thanks a lot, dude. And thanks for all the kind words about ours. And man, looking forward to see you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for everybody who's out there listening to us. We appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you.
See ya.